6 o'clock, the meeting of the Milford High School Building Committee of, what's today's date? September 9th, 2025 will come to order. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes, and I have a bunch of them, and there's some subcommittee ones, so I'm going to go through them one at a time. Melissa did a great job pulling this together. The first set of minutes is for the June 18th, 2025 full Building Committee meeting, and absent were Mr. Correa and Mr. Holland. So any other discussion from the other people that are here who can vote on those? So that being said, a motion to approve Mike Walsh, second. Kevin McIntyre. All those in favor? Aye. So it's unanimous with 2 abstentions. The second set of minutes is for August 13th, and that was the informational meeting and walkthrough pursuant to the RFP for the owner's project manager. And the 3 people that can vote on that are Walsh, McIntyre, and me. Any discussion among the 3? Motion?
Motion.
Kevin, second. Mike Walsh, and that's unanimous. The third set of minutes is the August 18th OPM subcommittee meeting, and that was the review of the selection process. And that was at the, where was that? That was at the
TRC, I think.
TRC, and that was an overview of the process. The people that were there were Correa, Consigli, Otland, McIntyre. Consigli can't vote, though. He's not a member of this committee. So it's Correa, Otland, McIntyre, Agajanian, Walsh, Villani, and me. And Walsh, I'm sorry, and Villani's not here.
Motion.
So out of those, motion, second. So motion from Correa, second from McIntyre. All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's unanimous of the ones that can. The next set of minutes is the OPM subcommittee meeting of August 27th, and that was the short list of respondents, and that was the 4 members of the subcommittee, which are Otland, Walsh, Villani, McIntyre. There's 3 here. Any discussion?
Nope.
Motion?
Motion.
McIntyre, second. Walsh, and that is unanimous of the 3. The next set of minutes is September 4th, which is the actual interview day, and that would be the same 4 subcommittee members who can vote on it. Any discussion on those?
John, you said August 4th. Did you mean September?
September 4th, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. So that was the interview day, and although I was there also, and Al Correa were there, we can't vote on it. We're not part of that subcommittee. So any discussion on the 3 that are here of the 4? So motion, Mike Walsh, second. Kevin McIntyre, and that's unanimous. And the last set of minutes is from last evening, September 8th, and that was the OPM subcommittee meeting again for the OPM negotiations, with their recommendation as to, and we're going to hear about that soon. So again, it's the same 3 out of the 4. Any discussion on those minutes? Not hearing none. Motion? Kevin, second. Mike Walsh, and that's unanimous. That takes care of all the minutes. Melissa, I don't know if you know, Joe Calagione just gave, okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of warrant, but there is no warrant, but we do have a timesheet for Melissa, and the amount is $922.20. I'm looking for a motion.
Motion.
To approve that. Motion, who? Patrick Holland, second. Mitch Rossetti. Any discussion? I do. I just got to tell you what a wonderful job she's done in this last week, getting us to this point, because we wouldn't be here if she didn't do what she did in the last week. Thank you again. And all those in favor? And I'll thank you, unanimous, and I'll pass this around for signatures. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the big one, actually, and that is the subcommittee's recommendation of OPM candidate and a vote that we will take. And I had asked Kevin, who pretty much, there was no chair of the subcommittee defined, but Kevin did a great job keeping it all together, and I asked him to give the overview of how this played out.
Yeah, so I can walk the committee through the process. Like anything with the MSBA, it's very process-driven. And the process started by, we had to post the OPM RFS both in the Central Register and in the Worcester Telegram, and we did that over the summer in August. We had a period of time where we answered questions of any of potential respondents. We received 10 applications. for the OPM RFS. And I have to say, every one of the applicants could have done the job, and I think done it really well. It was a very strong group of applicants. We had a walkthrough day and information session, and Jonathan did an excellent job of kind of walking all the interested parties through the project and how we got to where we're looking between, are we going to do a new building or renovation, and bringing the middle school over, as well as bringing Chapter 74 into the mix. And then we did a walkthrough of Milford High School, and there was an opportunity for questions. The 10 final applicants that completed applications were reviewed by the 4 subcommittee members and ranked, and that's in the packet that you received today, the overall rankings of the members. The three shortlisted firms were Next Level, PCA 360, and Colliers. And do you want me to talk about why we picked them, Jonathan?
Sure. I think it's important that people understand, at least from a general view, of how we ended up where we ended up.
Yeah, let me just get to that. Please give me 1 second. So again,
Not so important as the ones that didn't make the last 3, but why the final 3 made.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, you know what, I'm not. Oh, here we go. Okay. So Colliers was ranked third, was our third finalist, and they had significant experience with similar projects. There was significant expertise on the team. It was a very comprehensive proposal, and they had great experience with Chapter 74. PCA 360 ended up being ranked second overall, and again, their experience with similar projects, expertise of the team, experience with Chapter 70 programming, and a strong initial proposal. And again, you can see kind of similar themes popping up, and a lot of the, like 4, 5, and 6, I could probably say the same thing for, because again, all the proposals were very, very good. I don't want, nobody sent anything on the back of a napkin, as like a last minute kind of a thing. They were all very professional, very well put together, with firms with a lot of experience. We ended up recommending Next Level to the full committee tonight because of the firm's primary focus on the Milford Complex project. One of the concerns a couple of the subcommittee members had was that some of these bigger firms were doing multiple projects, and Next Level was really going to focus on this project as their primary focus. Their focus also on providing transparency at all phases of the project, and that was something that stood out for a couple of the members in terms of how they would approach giving information back to the subcommittee, the team, the school committee, stood out in terms of what Next Level would provide. Their experience with Woodland Elementary School in Milford, which was finished on time and under budget, as we all know, and was a spectacular project, and has been a great school for us for the past, now it's crazy to say, 10 years. And finally, experience with vocational programming and building projects. And again, Next Level put forward a strong initial proposal. So all 10 of the applications and the firms that put in were very, very strong. From the perspective of the subcommittee, Next Level stood out among that very strong field. And that's why we're recommending them tonight. I don't know if Mike or Josh want to add
Questions or comments regarding, Mike, do you want to add anything, or?
No, it's all
Okay. Patrick, no?
Yeah, just very briefly, I wasn't here when I was on vacation with my family when we voted to authorize, first of all, I couldn't be more pleased that it was Next Level and James. Just the work that he's done so far has been fantastic. I love everything about the way that he works with us and what he does for us. He's fantastic. I wasn't here when we chose to delegate to a subcommittee the choice of selecting a subcommittee to choose the OPM.
To make a recommendation to this board to appoint an OPM.
Well, we can parse words, but no one else participated in the process. But my only question is this, and this is my question to the chair. We're certain that the way that we chose to select the OPM falls in lines with all the policies and procedures of the MSBA?
Yes, we've actually been in touch with the MSBA. They've asked for feedback along the way. We've done everything. We've documented it. We did everything right, as far as we know. And it's all, the reason we're meeting tonight on an off night is because it's all due tomorrow in order for them to vote it on October 6th. That's why we're
Understood.
here on a Tuesday.
As long as we are
As
100%
far
within
as
the
we
rules.
know, as far as we know, we're 100% on, and we've been in touch with them.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Couldn't be more pleased. It's fantastic.
Mitchell City.
No, I just provided feedback because we just went through a smaller capital project, but our high school just went through a roof replacement, $6 million project. And we came out with some of the same finalists, so I think that whatever we chose, we ended up going with Colliers. We had good experience with them, we finished on time on the budget for that project.
Last email
But
we
we
got
also
from
hired
them.
James for a study throughout the year. We're extremely impressed with the work that he did, so I was very happy with that top 3 group, and I couldn't be more pleased with the recommendation for James for this project.
Any other discussion regarding Michael?
Yeah. I agree with James. I'm excited to work with him. Just a quick question, Kevin, with the process, everything seems to be going well. When you guys were coming with the scores, I saw the scores like 77, 76, which was great. Are those averages? Explain how you came up with those scores.
Yeah,
whatnot.
we met together. Everybody came to the meeting very well prepared. Four folks, very well prepared. And those are kind of composite ratings based on feedback from all 4 individuals.
Yeah, I've seen this, but I just wanted to know, like, what was the deliberation like, say, to get to the score of 77? Like,
So basically, we took that sheet that you have right there.
Yep.
We looked at all the categories and basically ranked them based on that. Folks that were stronger, if it was 0 to 5, would receive a 4 or 5. If it was a weaker presentation, they might get a 1, 2, or 3.
yeah, so it was basically a group discussion, line by line.
Using the rubric.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, just to add on, sorry to add on to Mike, so it wasn't an individual, this was more collective, everybody was together, looking at all 10 of those submittals, and then going through that rubric.
And it was interesting how much
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yeah.
coherence there was between the 4 folks. The top 3 were very clear. I think there were 2 other, and I'd have to look at the list. I'm not going to toggle up to it, but I think left field and another one, it might have been Skanska, but I don't want to speak out of turn. We're very close to being, part of that top 3.
Yep.
And we're in the discussion, but it was clear that Colliers, PCA 360, and Next Level were consensus among all 4 folks. I think, Next Level got a lot of interest too, but they fell fourth.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair.
Joe?
I'd just like to say that I think as we move forward, I understand time limits and stuff that we got tied up with in this, but as we move forward on the process, certainly as part of the selection of the AE as we move forward, it can't follow this process. There needs to be more coming back to this full board, be it, discussion of what questions we're going to ask. But if we decide that we're going, how we're going to do it, and if we're going with a subcommittee or whatever, that the whole board needs to be involved with things like, what questions do you want to see answers to if you have that? The scoring, I think, needs to be more tied down, because it's very difficult for me to come in and get a package this morning and say you want to vote on something that's multi-hundreds of thousands of dollar contract. I can't do that. Frankly, I need to abstain because I went through it and I couldn't see why I would be voting on this other than rubber stamping, and I don't like to rubber stamp.
Sure.
So as we move forward with the next one, it's critical that this be done in a way that's, if we're going to get time constrained, we need to start sooner, and we need to figure out how we're going to do it quicker.
And we were under tremendous time constraints because if we didn't get this done and in by tomorrow, we lose another whole month, and it delays the whole project. Let me just finish up. The other part of that is we're doing this without the institutional knowledge that a project manager brings as we go for the architect. So it was my time, Melissa's time, Kevin's time, who did I miss? Craig's time, to try to get this all packaged up to get it to meet the MSBA requirements. So, but it's a point well taken, and as we go through the process again, which starts relatively soon, getting an architect on board, and then eventually a construction manager on board. It will be run by someone who knows better how to do it. Anything else? Al?
I agree with you. I could not, in my mind, come into a meeting tonight and absorb everything in 30 minutes. So I was appreciative of the process that I was allowed to audit the meeting yesterday, because it gave me the background information, and it gave me a feeling. I think there were 7 or 8 of us there last night.
Nine.
9? So I would encourage the members, whether you're on the subcommittee or not, if you can, attend the meetings, because I learned a lot last night, and it made me much more comfortable than walking in blind this evening.
Anything else?
Just quickly, yeah, thanks, Joe, for bringing that up. I think, certainly can reflect on that and know that as the process moves forward, that there's going to be a lot more tasks that this committee is going to have to be involved with. So certainly, we're all here devoting our time to ensure that, our voices can be heard and be a part of that. So, I appreciate you bringing that up and certainly support that initiative.
Anyone else? Then I'd be looking for a motion to accept the recommendation of the subcommittee to engage the services of Next Level OPM, James Roofstone. Al,
So
motion
moved.
by Al, second by Michael. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One abstention? And that's where we're at. So with that, and expecting that we'd have the votes, I asked James to come down to reintroduce himself and just to make everyone feel comfortable.
No, thank you, everyone. No, thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate it. It's been a true pleasure working with you over the past year, and we're just so excited to be working with you again. To Jonathan's point, and I heard you loud and clear, and I think he had a great answer. That's really true. How often do you guys go out for OPMs?
Well, this is my second time in 15 years.
Meanwhile, as an OPM, that's what we do. We always hire, they bring us on first, and we hire the designer, and we hire the CM, and we go forward. So we absolutely take that feedback, and yes, we will I'll have a presentation ready for you guys to go through the process of hiring the designer. Little snippets. It's a little bit different than normal because it's the MSBA. There's like a 15-member panel, and only 3 of Milford is going to be on that. There's otherwise a standing 12-member DSB. So but been through it many times, and I'll advise you and we'll guide you through that. There is an opportunity to ask the questions of the designer at that time, and we can also obviously have group input on how we're going to score and rank the submissions as they come in. So those are the next steps. As Jonathan mentioned, we are in kind of a good old hurry up and wait. They got you submitting something tomorrow, and then we're waiting until August 6th. There'll be a virtual interview with the MSBA. I'll be presenting, our team will be presenting to the MSBA basically what we presented to you folks, and they'll have a few questions that we'll respond to, and then the project starts. Then the project starts. So, okay, thank you for having me.
Joe?
What was the date you said?
Oh, you mean October?
Okay.
We're already behind you.
So October 6th, and we cannot sign a contract, which is a boilerplate contract, if you will, from MSBA until after the MSBA approves the selection. So what we would be anticipating doing is signing a contract October 6th or after, once they vote it, and then we're off and running. The next task being to find an architect, and I asked James if he could start that process on his own time without a contract, and he agreed to start putting together the RFS for the design services. So that's where we're at the moment. Joe?
Once you sign the contract, can we all get a copy of that?
Sure. We could send
I
you.
hate to ask people things to do as we move forward. Well,
No,
what's it-
we could, in fact, I believe you were, I know everybody got a
I think we had
copy.
the-
You got the RFS and it's attached to the RFS. It's part of the RFS. So, you know, I've tried to make sure that everybody got all the documentation. I think everybody got it all along the way, and we will do the best we can and try to do better to make sure that everyone gets made aware of every subcommittee meeting, et cetera.
So we're buttoning the whole thing up tomorrow based on this vote, and I'll give the final version to Jonathan, which he can or Melissa will distribute to the whole team.
Sure, sure. Okay. Next item is school committee update, if there is one. I don't think so. Or any old business? Any new business?
Yes. So in kind of in relation to the information exchange, this is going to be more from a motion standpoint so we can get the discussion going if I get a second. But I move that for the duration of the entire school building project, the chair of the school building committee makes a reasonable effort to provide any relevant documentation to the committee a minimum of 24 hours prior to a committee vote. So just, you know, and I think that would help you. I'll hand you a copy just so you have
don't
it.
need a motion, just a request. If there's, you know, if you want, that's fine. I'll always make that effort.
Second.
Fine?
So again, yeah, and
Sure.
this is just, again, to try to help, you know,
Fine.
someone like, I think it was Joe or Patrick, I can't remember now, that just getting information in a timely fashion. I know everybody has day jobs, and so to try to get it 24 hours before, you know, unfortunately in this circumstance, things came in during the workday, so it's, I think, you know, myself included, I had a hard time reviewing everything, just, you know, because obviously I've got a job to do.
Any other discussion?
So just wanted
Do we
to
have
put that
to-
out there.
Do we really have to vote that? That's like it's kind of a do-nothing motion, like best effort, like how do you measure that? It's just kind of it just looks like we're all in agreement we should have more lead time.
Right.
Do we need a motion and vote that? Is that?
Well, I guess does it put...
There's a motion and a second.
Yeah, does it put some clause to it, is what I would say, right? You know, I'm just trying to put it out there. You know, I feel like, again, you know, we kind of missed on this one, and I know that there's going to be more information coming forward that we're going to need as a committee, so therefore, that's why I'm setting it forward as a motion. I mean, is it considered a policy then, at this point? Or is it just, you know, again, best practices for our committee? And that can be discussed here, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's receiving 50 to 60 pages of documents 4 hours before a meeting is a lot to digest. You know, I don't necessarily think that it's reasonable. I hope that it wouldn't become the standard practice, but it hasn't been so far. So I you know, I agree. It's a lot to read, you know, in the 4 hours run up to a meeting. So I understand the frustration. I'll just leave it there.
There's a problem with voting that, though, that I see, is that if anyone goes back and looks at the minutes, or there's disagreement as to how we came to the conclusion, they're going to point to that vote to say, this committee was unhappy based on how the minutes read, that this decision was made, versus the reality is that we have a pretty good consensus as to what the decision is. You see what I mean?
No.
No?
I don't.
The minutes are going to read that we voted that the group be given information at least 24 hours in advance, which would indicate that this wasn't the case here.
Correct.
And that there was disagreement in the selection process, right? I don't think that's what occurred here. You had a near unanimous, or you had a unanimous one abstention vote for the vendor. I just don't see that you
Right.
vote that, put that in the minutes.
Well, just because, I guess, just because I did get the information, but I didn't feel I got it in a timely manner, I'm trying to create a pipeline to make sure. So yes, I agreed with it because I believe that next level is the right choice. I was very happy that we got down to next level. I had time to go through the information and see why we got to next level. But I heard, well, Joe, perfect example, that abstained, and he had a reason for abstaining. So I'm trying to give a conduit for someone like Joe to not have to abstain so he can get all that information and be able to be a productive member of this committee.
Yeah, it's just, what's going to happen is, this happens after every OPM selection. All the other vendors that didn't get the contract will request all the information to help buttress their future applications. They want to know where they scored well, scored low. If any of them decide to contest the selection process, this vote's going to be the first thing they point to the IG's office to say this wasn't handled correctly. It was handled correctly. It's just going to create a problem. I just don't see why they did all that.
I don't think there's anything in this motion that says anything about how this was handled.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think there's a need for a motion on this. Joe has shared his concern. Joe has made his point. We elected Jonathan as chairman of this committee to lead this committee. So he's taken the recommendations of the people that have shared their concerns about how we communicate. I can only tell you from a personal standpoint, the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot on our plate. I'm not complaining. I took that position to the point where the other morning, we were in this building at 6 o'clock in the morning conducting interviews. So were we a little bit lackadaisical? Maybe that's the wrong word to use. Maybe not getting the documentation out in time. But again, Joe has shared his concern. Joe did a great job making his point. The chairman is taken under advisement. Let's move forward. But to make a motion, in my opinion, and then vote it, what we're doing is, first of all, we're undermining the authority of the chairman, and we're tying his hands. And I don't think in a project this big, we should do that to whoever's sitting in that chair. We put him in that chair because we believe in him, we respect him, and we want him to lead this committee. This is only one time in the very beginning of a very, probably the biggest project in this community. We understand it, the chairman hears it, let's move forward. But in my opinion, as a member of this committee, there's no need to make a motion on something like this. Thank you.
Michael?
So I'm, first of all, I think anybody should be able to make a motion at any time that they want. And I've said this in school committee before. If anybody ever makes a motion, I will always second it, even if I don't agree with you, right? Because I want to hear the voice, right? And so I think the thought of discouraging a motion should never happen, right? We should always want to hear the voice, right? So now there's the second piece, which is, a motion is the group coming together to have a unified voice on what we want. So we heard some dissent here about we want information for it. So I personally don't, we're in the motion, so the motion is happening. So, that's it. It's there now. But I think approaching it as just being clear, I think Chris used the term, best effort, which is saying, hey, Mr. Chair, just make your best effort to give this information up front because they're big decisions. So I think it's always a good thing to be clear. And so I don't have personally, I don't have a problem with it. I think being clear is good.
Joe?
Basically, how I started this, I don't think there's that many of these as we move forward that I'm worried about in terms of getting a package 4 hours before. Obviously, you've already gone through 2 of them. The architect engineer is going to be one. Construction manager is going to be another. When we're voting on articles that are going to be of a magnitude, dollar value of that, I don't believe the expectation should be that you get a package 4 hours before. And as far as I'm concerned, the next time I walk in here, if it's the same thing, it won't be an abstain, it will be a no. And I believe that based on what I'm hearing from other people, it could be a no, and we all need to be aware of that. That shouldn't be what we're being asked of. And I'm not saying you did this or not, Jonathan. I'm just saying going forward, we need to do better, and we need to all be aware of it. I don't really. I think there's certain things that you want to put on the agenda and have nothing until 2 hours before, and it's really only for discussion. Go ahead and do it, and we'll discuss it at the meeting. So I don't care whether I get it or not. But I'm just putting out an opinion that, hey, we need to be aware going forward, at least from my point of view, when I'm being asked to vote on dollar magnitudes of those, I'm not comfortable doing that in that short period of time. And I understand how we got into this particular one, but as they move forward, we just can't do that again. And that's where I think we are. And so I don't, again, being the way Chris worded it, I'm not sure what level it would have of being able to enforce anything or not. So I don't know that it gets us anywhere, but that's where I'm really concerned about going forward.
What I could tell you is I didn't make a reasonable effort. I made the best effort I possibly could to get everything out, and at least a few days ago, I sent out everything that we had to date. It wasn't a data dump this afternoon of the whole package. Some of it was already distributed, and anything that was added was stuff that just got finalized. So, I mean, I will vote against it. There's a motion, there's a second. It will have a vote. I will vote against it because I don't think it has any significance, this kind of a motion and a second, because a reasonable effort is undefinable. Relevant documentation is reasonably undefinable, and I think it just further muddies the waters. I understand the intent, but with a motion and a second, unless the second and the motion is withdrawn, this is going to a vote. Patrick?
There's a third way forward. We can table this motion and give the committee leadership an opportunity to develop a policy relative to documents that shall be considered for vote and bring that forward. Well, I guess here's the thing.
I understand what you're saying, but that's just such a moving target.
But it's a legitimate concern.
Sure,
It's a legitimate concern.
sure.
And
The more effective way is to ask me to resign as chair and someone else chair.
I think
That's the simple way.
I think we can also take a breath
Sure.
and not resign.
I didn't.
Okay, and not-
I just said it, but if somebody.
But we can take a breath, and what we can say is this, is that
I
there was
made-
some dissatisfaction in the communication strategy with documents, right? And it's reasonable. We're allowed to disagree.
Absolutely.
Allowed to disagree.
Absolutely. That's,
But
there's
we
no,
also have a responsibility to move forward.
Sure.
So everyone on this committee is satisfied.
I understand.
And so, yeah.
I'm comfortable with the process we went through. I'm not comfortable that I had to get here at 5:30 in the morning, but that was my decision because, as Joe says, I'm old and slow, so I can't just absorb everything hours before. So I came to the 6:30 meeting. I came to the Monday meeting. I came to the other meeting, and I was auditing it. I had no vote, but I learned. So as long as you keep inviting the committee to all the meetings, I would be more uncomfortable if you had a meeting of Kevin and two people and none of us were invited. As long as I'm invited to the meetings and I can opt to audit them, I'll learn. And whether I get 40 pages 2-3 hours before or not, I really, if it's what went on last night and what went on, this was Saturday morning
It's a Saturday.
or whatever, 6 o'clock meeting,
Yeah, the interviews.
then I'm comfortable because I had every option to attend and learn.
And that's a very reasonable proposition, Al. I agree with the several committee members that I don't really know what a reasonable effort is relative. I mean, it's not litigated. I don't know that it necessarily is something that we can hold anybody accountable to, right? Which is why I would prefer that there's a communication, like a strategy policy that we can enact, that we can then hold people accountable to. You know what I mean? Because I don't want, what I don't want is anyone to feel like their voice isn't heard because they didn't have an opportunity to view something or to get something or to discuss something. And while I appreciate that everyone is invited to all of these meetings, not everyone. I'm in court 4 days a week. I mean, there's not necessarily a lot of opportunity, right? No, and you're right. And if I could be at the meetings, I would have been at the meetings. But I have to rely on my fellow committee members, right, to have a communication strategy and a policy that I know I feel comfortable with. I think this is probably a one-off, honestly.
But I said,
and
we were under an extreme time crunch to get this done, and I'll repeat myself, several days ago, and I don't remember the exact date, I did a data dump on everything we had to date and augmented it this afternoon with the stuff that was a result of last night and the narrative. But there was no secrets kept here. There was nobody kept in the dark. All the meetings were posted. Everybody knew when the meetings were, and everyone was welcome to come to them. And I'll leave Mitch.
Just honestly, I don't, motions are supposed to accomplish something, and I understand the sentiment behind it, but it really doesn't do anything. So I agree with Mr. Walsh in that it just provides a negative to it. Now, I think we can all agree that we want the stuff ahead of time. We've been debating the merits of a motion that doesn't actually accomplish anything longer than we debated the OPM decision on a $500 million project. If the committee was serious about wanting to review that and not trusting the people we put in those positions, would we lose a month? Yeah, but we could take that and review it But now we're just talking about a motion that just undermines the chair and doesn't really accomplish it. There's no teeth to the motion, it doesn't do anything. So I honestly would just respectfully request that the second be withdrawn, and that if this happens again, we can revisit it. But as of right now, I don't see really any need to vote on something that doesn't move the ball forward in any discernible way.
Michael?
Just real quick, and this is not, and I politely disagree. Motions are to put forward even a voice, right? And so if this committee comes together and says, this is what we want, this is what we want, and that accomplishes something. But motions shouldn't be negative. And I'm not even arguing this right now. Motions should not be negative. If somebody wants to make a motion, new business according to Robert's rules, that's where you do it. If somebody wants to bring up a topic, that's where they do it. As far as this, I actually like Patrick's idea. I think having a strategy, I think this is one-off. I don't want Jonathan to resign. But I also do want to make sure that any member...
Believe.
I know.
Let me back up.
But I
I'm
don't
not
want...
threatening to resign. I'm just saying there's another option.
Yeah.
If you're not satisfied with my level of communication, replace me. All it takes is a vote, replace me. A motion and a second and a vote, someone else sits here.
Let me finish.
And I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
That's a lot. That's a lot, John. I mean, can we...
Tell me what the difference is by the vote of no confidence or the vote to replace the chair. What's the difference?
No, I think that frankly, I think that you're taking this personally. I think that and you shouldn't, okay? I've served on one of these committees with you for 5 years. I have complete confidence in your commitment to this project and to getting it done correctly, on time, and on budget. We're allowed to have a disagreement and have it not be personal, which is why I go back to my point where if people are not satisfied with the way in which the communication strategy is going to be moving forward, then we should just discuss it and have a policy and just follow that policy. And that way, everyone knows that we have confidence in one another and the community can have confidence in us to work together to get this very big building project done. Because I think that having feelings about this stuff is not the best way to move forward. I think let's just put together a strategy, have a policy, follow it, and never talk about this again.
For a few decades, I've been on a committee where we faced questions like this. And candidly, we asked the chairman, will you agree to include us all in invitations? And if the chairman said yes, until he broke his word, that was good enough for all of us. I think we're in that situation. If Jonathan agrees that he's going to invite, his personal opinion, all of us to sit in on all the meetings. You don't have to, but if you're slow like me and you want to keep up, you do. And then he breaks his word, then we got a discussion point. But until he breaks his word, I don't see any need. Prior to
the motion being introduced, early this evening, when Joe raised the question, I acknowledged the issue and said I would do better. And then there's a motion. So where we are at the moment, Chris.
So I'm going to kind of change the directive here. This motion wasn't directed at how the chair operates. This motion is all of us. We bring information, and if we have information, that needs to be to the chair 24 hours also, so he has time. So I think everybody's right now focused on this motion being directed to the chair. It's not. This is a group motion for how our entire committee needs to operate, right? Because we had this subcommittee. This subcommittee created documentation that then needed to be funneled to the chair, then out to us. So that puts these subcommittees on notice that they too need to follow this procedure, right, to be able to support the chair. So again, this is not against how the chair has operated. This is in an effort to help support the chair in the information that we gather individually that needs to be funneled through him to the entire committee.
Then I would suggest you revise the motion, because the motion says, I move for the duration of the entire school building project, the chair of the school building committee makes it a reasonable effort to provide any relevant documentation to the committee a minimum of 24 hours prior to a committee vote. It's silent on anyone else here or any subcommittee. It's very pointed. It's very specific to the chair. Joe.
I think Patrick's idea is the one that gets rid of all of that. Develop a communication that we all, as a committee, need to uphold and have that in front of us so that we can then move forward.
Then the pathway to that would be to vote against this.
Or withdraw it.
withdraw it.
With all due
Or
respect.
withdrawal of the second.
Withdraw the
motion.
second, withdraw the
If
motion.
there's- Yeah, if there's something that says we're going to move forward and develop a communication outline, I don't think it needs to be much. I'm not trying to give people.
I'll commit to put it on the agenda
You know,
to,
and that's presented to us at our next meeting. I
Sure.
think we can handle this at the next meeting, because I don't think there's anything between now and that next meeting that would stop us from doing it. So, to me, that's the easiest way to move forward, and you could then withdraw the motion.
I didn't hear this when Chris was talking about it. I didn't interpret this as a vote of no confidence. However, it would seem that there's discussion flowing towards that people may consider this to be a vote of no confidence, whether that's the correct view or not. Insofar as that is now the case, I can't support something that a member of this board would consider to be a vote of no confidence. However, I do support the idea that we should have a policy in place so everyone is comfortable and knows that the documentation they think is important is going to be available to them.
Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I go back to that, and Joe, I don't mean to signal you out, but Joe has brought to our attention a valid concern. He did a really great job of how he presented it and brought it forward, which opened up a discussion among this committee, okay? But again, to present a motion, to me, doesn't make any sense. So respectfully, Chris, I would ask you to remove the motion. And I do agree with what Patrick is saying, is that we need something in place so that going forward, the whole committee knows. Chris, you make a valid point. If you're involved in something, who knows, down the road, you could be in charge, chairman of a subcommittee. You will know that any documentation that comes to you, you need to get it to the chairman in a certain amount of time. But there doesn't need to be a motion for that. To me, a motion is tying somebody's hands. I think that if we draft a policy, doesn't have to be tonight, over time, we draft a policy that everybody agrees on so that we all know moving forward that documentation has to flow in a certain amount of time. I'm okay with that. But again, I go back to, in the last 2 weeks, what the subcommittee has been dealing with, and I understand, again, I go back to, I took the position, working with, trying to keep the guidelines. My phone is full of emails back and forth between the chairman and the MSBA, trying to meet the guidelines. Did something get by? Yeah, maybe something did get by. Oh, yeah, something did get by. But we hear everybody. Moving forward, we'll tighten up the reins, okay? But I again, you know, Chris, I would respectfully ask you to remove the motion. I think it sends the wrong message, not only to this committee, to the public who is watching us on TV. It sends the wrong message that out of the gate, okay, we just picked our OPM, and out of the gate, we're already at odds with one another over something that's very easily repaired. The chairman hears everybody. He's going to address it. Let's move forward. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. I ask you respectfully to remove the motion, and let's move forward on Patrick's idea. Let's put together some kind of a policy that will, you know, that down the road we can all use, because this is a long project. This is roughly a 5-year project. This is not the first time this is going to come up. It's going to come up again. So let's just move forward. Let's not get stuck on something like this.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank
who
you,
made
Mr.
the
Chairman.
second?
Michael Agajanian.
Then I would suggest you remove your second, you remove your motion, and we go with developing the policy that Patrick mentioned. You've already committed, Jonathan, that you'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Regardless of where this road goes, that my next task would be to ask several people here to put together a policy.
So I think we're all agreeing on what the outcome should be, and it's just winding itself up. So I would say pull the second, pull the motion, put together somebody to write a policy and bring it to the full board.
Yeah, so real quick, I think everybody's on the same page. I personally don't care if there's a motion. I think the discussion's good. So if, you know, we want to do that, I'm happy
You want to withdraw the second?
Yeah, I just want to be
You
your
want to
discussion.
withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Done. That's done. The seconds, withdrawn, the motion is withdrawn, there will be no vote, and I'm going to ask Patrick, Christopher, and Joe to get together and pull together what you envision as an appropriate policy.
We'll loop in James, because frankly, he's going to be the person that's going to be generating a lot of the documents that we're
Well,
going to
this
see moving
is,
forward.
that's fine, but I
Way to
think,
kill a motion.
huh?
It's just withdraw.
It's withdrawn.
That's it, it's done.
It's done, it's over. But Patrick, Joe, Cal, and Chris Wilson, get together, please, and pull together what you would envision is the process of policy for distribution of data. And
Perfectly reasonable.
we'll move that forward, and that'll be an agenda item at our next meeting. Thank you, everyone. Any other old business? I'm sorry, new business? And then looking for a motion to adjourn. Mike Walsh, second. The race.
You got it.
The other Mike.
I want to stay.
All right. All those in favor of adjournment? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Mike.